Before we jump into today's episode, I want to extend a special invitation to you to join me at my upcoming free training, Rewrite Your Blueprint. As we wind down 2023, yes, that's right, wind down. We are getting ready to go into fourth quarter. I wanted to help as many people as possible to end 2023 on a high and to get ahead for 2024. If you have some area of your life that you have been wanting to change or level up or expand or shift, and you've been thinking about it and just haven't taken action on it, this training is for you. I'm going to share my 6-step process of how I go about evaluating, assessing, and shifting and leveling up my life in a relatively short amount of time. So I'm doing this in a free session, October 12th at 8 p.m. It is done virtually, and you can register. I will put the link in the show notes, or you can find me on Instagram. The link is in my bio. You can go to @amypalmer.today. And I look forward to seeing you there live on October 12th. Welcome to the Blueprint Breakers podcast. What is a blueprint breaker? If you live your life outside the typical traditional lifestyle blueprint, you are a blueprint breaker. We are here to start a conversation, to assemble resources, and to build a community. This podcast is for empowered women in midlife and beyond who are preparing for a powerful next era of life. My name is Amy A. Palmer. I am your host and facilitator for our conversations. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. To stay connected, up to date, and to receive all of our free resources and gifts along the way, join us at community.blueprintbreakers.com. Today, we're going to talk about how to fall in love with your hometown. Now, first, I want to clarify my specific definition of hometown for the purposes of this conversation is wherever you currently live. Not necessarily where you are originally from, but the town that you currently consider home. As you know, I am now a nomad, have been for a little bit over a year. So each place that I travel to becomes my new hometown, my current hometown of the moment. And it has sparked a new sort of passion, joy, interest, etc., in really soaking up each and every place that I spend time in. And it's one of the benefits and the byproducts of this nomadic lifestyle. And I've talked about this before. I have a finite amount of time in each place, sometimes with people who I care very deeply about, and even the place and space itself. And that has forced me to take full advantage of the time that I have and soak up the moments, soak up the days, and really explore. One of the benefits that has come about as a result of this, as I've traveled to different places, some of the time I'm staying with other people, friends, family, people whom I love deeply. And there's been a couple of times where I've made local discoveries that my host wasn't even aware of. And they really, really, really appreciate it. There was one time I was staying in a town and I found a nearby garden and estate and another arboretum that my host and hostess were not aware of. And so not only did we explore these new locations, we also were exposed to a whole roster of events and activities and opportunities at those locations. You know, I've been to an afternoon tea, I've been to a cocktail hour, I've been to an art show, I've been to live music at these venues that the local resident didn't even know that it was there, and it was about 5 minutes away. And there was another time where I found a walking trail and a park, really, really nice, a really, really new perspective that my hosts had not been to before and were only somewhat aware that it was there. So I realized that this is sort of a new hobby of mine, is to explore each place as I get there. Now, why? Why should we do this? Even if you're not a nomad, even if you are living in a place for an extended period of time, why should you put effort into falling in love with where you are? Well, it reconnects us with the place where we are, and it supports us in finding the joy in the everyday. It really helps to pause and take in the beauty. It helps with gratitude. It helps with inner peace. So let's break down a little bit of how I go about doing this. First, I'm seeking communities when I do this. So I look at local communities, and some of it I do ahead of time before I get to a new location. When you live in a place, you might try something like the Nextdoor app, although that is a mixed bag. Some Nextdoor apps are filled with just complaints and arguments, and then others, there's some, really cool stuff going on. But I do research to find out what are the local groups in that area online. Look at local Facebook groups, and when I'm looking, I'm pulling up specific neighborhoods and specific towns and seeing what I can find there. I will check out any of the venues that I plan to visit while I'm there. I follow them on Instagram ahead of time because a lot of times people have started to announce things that are happening or things that are going on impromptu on social media, and they don't necessarily post it on a website or some other thing. So I'm looking for communities and I'm looking for opportunities ahead of time to make sure that I'm in the loop on what's going on. Now, when I think about what I'm going to look for in a place, like what's important to me is going to be different than what's important to you. And it's all going to be dependent on your joy kit, whatever is in your joy kit. And your joy kit is exactly what it sounds like. In my joy kit, I have music, live theater, live performances, comedy, art and galleries, either indoor or outdoor. I love outdoor murals and sculptures. I love different types of museums, nature, which like gardens, arboretums. And for movement, I love kayaking and yoga and tai chi and things like that. When I go into a new place, I start Googling those particular things in that new place to see what I can find and to see what's going on in that area. Also, anything like in the healing arts, like meditation, sound baths, forest baths, anything that is helping with like self-healing and personal development. I'll look for what's going on in those neighborhoods ahead of time. And it's a little bit of a scavenger hunt. Sometimes there's some towns and some cities that have a really good resource that curates a lot of what's going on in one place, but I'm finding that's not all that common. So for me, I'll look for local gardens, I'll look for arboretums, I look for walking trails, and when I say I look, I do a regular Google search looking for these things, see what I could find. But then I also use Google Maps. Sometimes things pop up differently, especially when I'm looking for parks or walking trails on Google Maps. Sometimes I find it on the map, but I didn't find it in a regular Google search. Also, Yelp is a great resource for finding things to do and finding things to explore in the area. Eventbrite is a good site to go to find all events in your area. Meetup.com to find groups that are doing different things, hiking groups, walking tours, things like that. I look for calendar of events. I'll search calendar of events with the name of the city or the name of the county or the name of the town. So just really, really getting creative. And once you find one thing, it tends to lead to something else. One example, I found this arboretum near where I was staying. And it was a beautiful, peaceful place, great place to walk around, great place to hang out, great place to relax and journal and just be with nature and enjoy a good, nice day. But then I also found out they had a really robust calendar of events with all kinds of things going on. I attended a forest bath at that arboretum at one point, which was really enjoyable. And I saw a musician do a performance there. And as a result of that, I started following that musician on Instagram, and then I found a whole other venue in a town, a couple towns over, where she was performing at later because I wanted to go check her out again. And I found a whole other list of things that I didn't know was happening. But I guess my point in this is to get creative and to put time aside. Now, for those of you who are not nomads like myself, here's my challenge to you. Here's what I'm challenging you to do. Put your tourist hat on for a moment and pretend you are visiting for the very first time, approaching it that way. Like, what would you look for? And even if you're one of those people who has explored a lot, I have a slightly different I challenge you to find something you haven't seen before, or find something that you only recently learned about or saw, whether it's a local museum or a library or a new site to see, a new activity to take place in. Put your investigative hat on to really search for something new and different that you can participate in and that you can go see in your hometown. Because as I said, I think it helps add to our joy. It adds to the moment. And as we say, it is about the journey, right? So let's enjoy each step along the way. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of the Blueprint Breakers podcast, Fall in Love with Your Hometown. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. And thank you for sharing this episode with your friends. Don't forget to register for my upcoming free training, Rewrite Your Blueprint, coming up on October 12th. The registration link is in the show notes and on my Instagram at amypalmer.today. To always be in the loop of what is happening here at Blueprint Breakers, join our community. Just sign up at community.blueprintbreakers.com.